Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Now this week's video is all about ultra large format cameras. More about that in a minute, but last year, about 8 months ago, I posted a video about this camera. I made it. It's a pinhole camera. I put some photographic paper in the back to create a paper negative, and exposed it, and I ended up with this picture. And then with this actual paper negative, because of its size, it's restricted to the size of the box. I could have done it in the enlarger to enlarge it. I could have done a contact print and kept it at this size, or in this case I scanned it with my flatbed scanner and I got this print from it on the inkjet printer. But the pinhole camera is only restricted by the size of the paper that you use. Now I've got quite a few sheets of 16 by 12 inch multigrade paper, and I was looking for a box round about that size, and I found this box. Now this box measures from top to bottom 18 inches, and it's about 12.5 inches across. So it's a little bit bigger than the paper size, but I've got to find some way of holding the paper in this box. And the other good thing about this box, it's already all painted black, so that's great for a pinhole camera. But the first thing I have to do is create a pinhole. Now the pinhole will go into the centre, and because of the light fall off from the centre to the edges, the light has to travel further. All four corners and maybe the edges are going to vignette, and they're going to go darker, but I don't really dislike that, because I do think it creates images that have got a different feel and a different mood to them, such as these two images created with my 045 at its super wide angle setting. But as I say, I don't mind that, and after all, it's just trying to be creative. So the first thing to do is cut the piece of metal, and as I did in the video last year, I cut it out of a soft drinks can, nice up, pliable and thin. Use a household pin, tap a hole into it, very small hole, put that hole into Photoshop, into the scanner, and then put it into Photoshop. Measure the size of the hole, and the reason we need to know that size is because I need to calculate the pinhole's f-stop. Now, so once I know the size, all I do is divide the focal length by the pinhole size, diameter, and that will give me my f-stop. And I do all that in the Pinhole Designer app. I do all that in there, and I can print out a chart to give me the correct exposures. Now I'll also show you that the angle of view that this pinhole camera is going to create is going to be super wide angle. But I have learnt over the years with pinhole cameras, especially wide ones, you have to get in close. So I need, with this one, I need to get in close to get a good strong foreground. The only other problem I've got with this is how to set it up, so I can set it up to take exposure without it moving. Now I can't mount it onto a tripod. There's no tripod socket, it will be flimsy, it'll move about. So I'm thinking of elastic bands and somehow mounting it to the tripod legs and getting it level that way. But again, that's something I've got to work out. But first of all, let's get this pinhole sorted out and make a ultra large format pinhole camera. Right guys, you see me through the Canon 28mm macro lens at the super macro setting, and I've punched a hole in the metal with a pin, and this is the pinhole. Now all I've got to do is measure the pinhole diameter in Photoshop, so we'll do that now. Right, we're on the computer now, and that's going to help us calculate the diameter of the pinhole. Then we're going to go into the Pinhole Designer app to calculate the f-stop, and then it'll create an exposure chart, and I can also give you a preview of the angle of view of this super wide ultra large pinhole camera. Right, I've shown this before in another video, but if you haven't seen it, I'll show you again. You get the piece of metal that you've punched the hole in, put it into your flatbed scanner, scan it at a high resolution. If you haven't got a flatbed scanner, you can use your digital camera. Bring it into Photoshop, zoom into the pinhole, select the ruler tool from a tools palette at the bottom, and it brings up these boxes at the top left. And we're looking at the one that's W for width. That's going to give us the width of the pinhole. Then I'm going to press the shift key. That's going to keep this line dead straight on the ruler. Press that down, then pull it across, and I watch the numbers at the top. Now we're on 0.2 at the moment, still on 0.2, then it changes to 0.3. So it's between 0.2 and 0.3. I think I'll call it 0.26, so we're somewhere in between. Then we bring up the designer app, Pinhole app. By the way, this is a free download. It's very, very handy when you're doing pinhole photography. We put in the diameter that we've just got of the pinhole, which is 0.26, and then the focal length, which we measured as 35mm, and that's created an f-stop of f135. Then we go to exposure, and it's created an exposure chart that I can print off. It gives times on the left for f22, that's what I'll meter at, and then the resultant times at f135. So if I've got quarter of a second at f22, the actual exposure is 9 seconds. Now to look at the angle of view, we can see that I've put in there the format size is 16 by 12 inches and the focal length is 35mm. You can see how wide a view that this pinhole camera is going to give. So it's making me think even more that it's going to go quite dark or black. We're just going to get a circle in the middle with this blackness all the way around it. But we'll just see. It might be that if there's too much black, I'm going to have to crop in on the paper, cut it down to a different size. But we'll see. So let's get this pinhole now mounted into the pinhole camera. Right, the pinhole's nice and securely taped to the inside of the camera. At the front, I've made a cover to cover the pinhole when it's got the paper inside, and pull it off when it's exposed, and then cover it when the exposure's done. A bit crude, but it'll work. So that's done. I've created my exposure chart at f135, so that'll make life easier. The other problem that I was encountering was the paper when it was fitted inside this box. It wasn't long enough to fit top and bottom nice and snug. It was about an inch short, so it meant that if I didn't put anything in at top and bottom, the paper would slide up and down. And then at the sides, again, if I didn't put anything at the sides, the paper would just curl. So I had to think of a way of stopping that. So what I've done, I've put some card, it's thick card with foam taped on the top, at the top and the bottom. And it's like this. Piece of card, and it's covered in foam. And when we put the paper in, it sits on the top and bottom struts, so it can't move about that way. And then I put these bars in, one at that side, and then I've got another one for the other side, and the paper is held firm when I put the top on. So it does work, this. I've tried it. So if I put my front on like that, it goes behind the foam, creates a light tight seal, and that paper will not move anywhere. I've tried shaking it, it doesn't move. So the next thing, how do I hold all this together? Well, I've copied what Zero Image do with their cameras. They use elastic bands, so I put one across like that, one across at the top, like that, and then put some elastic bands down the longer side, and another one at this side. So we've got 4 elastic bands pressing down on the front of the camera to the back, and that's made that really nice and secure now. So the next problem is how am I going to fasten this to something to keep it upright and level, maybe on a tripod if I can. I don't know, I'm going to have to think about it, and I'll once I've come up with a solution I'll show you that. Right guys, I thought we'd have a little bit of fun, and I'm going to expose my first sheet of a 16 by 12 inch paper in the camera now. I just want to have an idea of the angle of view that I'm going to get and see how much it vignettes at each corner. I've got a feeling that might be quite a bit, but it'll just give me an idea of what I'm going to get, and it'll be interesting to see what I come up with using the pinhole camera indoors. So I need to take a light reading, and I need the chart. It's a bit difficult in here because the light is really changeable with the different types of lighting. Now looking at that, it's giving me between about 1 minute 30, and that's between 38 minutes and 1 hour. I think I'm going to err on the safety side and give it more exposure, so I'm going to give it 1 hour's exposure. So we'll set that now, and then I'll just sit down and do what I normally do until the exposure runs out. Right, take it off the cover and start the exposure. Right, I'm going to have to move this camera because I don't want that to be in the picture. Right guys, that's the paper negative, and as I thought, I've got a lot of vignetting around the edges of this picture, but what I see here I really like. You might not be able to make it on the negative, but I've got the lights, the strip lights coming down there. I've got the clock that I use for my developing. If you can look carefully, you might see me sat in my chair. This is after an hour. We can see all the cupboards along the side, we can see all the cameras on the shelves, etc. I think it's really good. So I'll do a scan of it using my camera, and we'll see what the positive image looks like. Right, this is the positive image from that paper negative. I copied it with my digital camera on the copy stand, and I'm really pleased the way it's turned out. What I've actually done with it, the vignetting was a little bit heavier than I imagined, although it was no surprise. So what I've done, I've cropped some of that darkness out, that vignetting out, just to give it a bit better balance. The detail in it is unbelievable. Let me zoom in a little bit more. For a pinhole camera, this is my the clock that I use for my dark room. Then we've got all the shelves with my cameras on, etc. And then if we move along, in the centre, that's me, although it's blurred. That's after an hour long exposure. There's my computer screen, and that's the my microphone. And this pinhole camera, if it hadn't vignetted, I'd have got this room in corner to corner, so it is quite amazing. But the good thing about this is I know what to expect when I go out and take the second picture outside. I know it's going to be a very wide angle image. I've got to get in close to the foreground. I know that I'm going to get vignetting, but like this picture, at least I know I can crop in a little bit to take some of that vignette away. Right, let's have a look at what I've done to connect this large, ultra large camera, pinhole camera, onto my tripod. It's a bit unique, so please don't laugh, but it does work. As we all know, you can't hold a pinhole camera by its hand taking exposure because the exposures are too long. So it has to be mounted to some sort of a support. Now, because I've made this out of a cardboard, it's just not going to be strong enough and stable enough. But I have held it together with elastic bands, and they are strong, and I found a way of attaching it to the tripod using these. Now, to the purists out there, and as we say in the UK, it might seem a Heath Robinson affair, but we can also say that necessity is the mother of invention, and it certainly is in this case. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to mount it to the tripod. You can mount it this way, that in the landscape format or portrait orientation. It'll mount just the same way. And I've got a tripod here, and I've taken the head off, and I'm going to use the two legs and push them under the elastic bands at the, you might call the bottom, and then it's held in place now with those two elastic bands there. And then I've got to mount the top elastic band to this rod that held the tripod. I put it so far, and then pull that up like that so it goes over the top, and now it's mounted to the tripod. Now I'm going to put the legs out and pull it fully up, and I'll show you how sturdy it is. It won't be sturdy obviously in a very windy conditions, but it'll be good enough on a decent day with a slight breeze. And it just shows that when you're making your own cameras, pinhole cameras, etc., that things that you take for granted become a problem. Just lift it up a bit more, and it's certainly been the case with this tripod here. Right, it's mounted to the tripod now. I'm just going to lift it up a little bit, push it up, extend that rod, and I can push it right up like that, and then it's mounted on the tripod. And surprisingly enough, it's quite secure. As long as there's not a gale force wind, it'll be okay. The only problem is, another problem I had to solve, is that when we extend the tripod legs like that, the camera's not level. So what I've done is I'm going to use another pinhole camera that I made, and I'm going to mount it to in between this rod at the top and the camera, and now I can level the camera up with the back leg on the tripod and keep it level that way. So that's how I'm going to work it. I can lift it up even more if I want to do. And as I say, it's quite tighten that up. It is quite sturdy. I think this will work. So that's how I'm going to mount it. Now I'm going to get the camera now ready to take a picture. I'm going to mount a yellow filter onto the front of it. Just tape it at the top there, and when I take the cover off the pinhole, drop that down so it's exposure through the yellow filter. I'm also going to flash the paper before I put it in the camera. That'll also help with the contrast. And that's about it. So I've just shown you something that nobody will ever do, but I must admit it was fun trying to solve it. Right, let's go out and take some pictures with this camera, or one picture. Right, there we have it. It's all set up on the tripod, and the elastic band seems to be doing quite a good job. It's quite sound, really, to say, for its size. It's not wobbling about too much. And the subject of this photograph is this rabbit. And he's been with us a long time. We never have to feed him, but this is going to be the subject. Now we can see here how close I am to it. Well, you probably see it better from this angle. I'm very close to it, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to get in the picture, but I think it's going to be very, very wide. We might even get that conservatory of that house next door to us. Might get that in, but you don't know until you try. So what I'm going to do is take an exposure reading at ISO 3. That's the speed that I've determined this paper to be at, and then from then we'll take the exposure and get it developed and see what we've got. So let's check a light meter reading first. I've got the camera straight as I think I can get it. I'm going to take a light meter reading using my Seaconic light meter and measure in the instant light reading mode. That's where I'm measuring light falling onto the subject. I'm going to meter F22, and then with the chart that we created I can look down the chart and then read off the times for F135. So first of all, let's take a reading. It's giving me 4 seconds, and then 4 seconds on this chart is, I don't know if you can see this, is 3 minutes. But because I'm using the yellow filter, I'll have to double that time to 6 minutes. So let's start this exposure. Right, I'm going to have to do this fairly quick. So I've got 3 minutes, it's going to be 6 minutes with the yellow filter. So lift that up, cap off, and the exposure is running now. So let me start that. So the exposure is running now. I'm going to have to get out of the picture because if I don't it's going to catch me as the Pinhole camera. So the exposure now is running down. We're going to give it 6 minutes, and once it's done I'll put the shutter cap or the pinhole cap on and then develop the paper and see what we've got. The angle of view, if I'm stood here, it's going to capture me there, so I've got to get really well behind it. Right, let this run down, and then as I say, we'll develop it and see what we've got. Right, got the Pinhole camera here, taking off the elastic bands, and then take the paper out. I've mixed up the stop bath fixer and developer. I'm using Adox Adenol. It's a clone of Rodinol, and I'm mixing that to develop the paper. It just develops slower, and it helps to keep that contrast under control. So I'll take the paper out. Nice and firm in there. And then awkward getting it out, but I've done it. I'll place it into the development tray. As I say, I'm developing it in the weak, what you might call Rodinol, and it'll take around about 3 to 4 minutes to develop it. So let's get the development started. Cover it quickly. Put it into the fixer. Leave that in there for about a minute, and we should be able to have a look at it. Right, we can take a look at it in the actual fixer. So there it is in the fixer. Now I've got a rabbit in it. That's good. and I have got some trees, but the whole area of the image is going to go black. But it might look very, very effective if you could imagine this in a 16 by 12 inch frame, something different. So let's get the print washed and hung up and dried. Right, the paper negative's nice and dry, and we've got the rabbit in the centre of the picture there. I just want to give you a close-up of this rabbit from the paper negative, and it's just incredible how much detail a camera with no lens can capture. I know it's not pin sharp, but I just think it's absolute magic that a camera with no lens can do this, and that's why I absolutely love pinhole photography. Let's zoom out again. Now this white area all the way around the picture, keep in mind this is a negative. When it's scanned or contact printed, it's going to go really dark, nearly black. Now my original thoughts on this in making this camera, I thought I would get a big paper negative going up to the edges. I knew it would get dark around the edges, but not as much as this. So something's gone wrong with my calculations, etc. But sometimes good things come out of bad things. And I think that with all this black around this central picture, I think it could look quite striking. So I'm going to scan this now, and then I'll edit it on the computer and let you have a look at it, and then I'll also show you the print of it, which I'm going to put on eBay for auction to help support the channel. Right, let's get it scanned. So this is the paper negative. I scanned it on my light box using my digital camera. I also cropped it slightly to give it a better balance. Now looking at the paper negative, it's not exactly what I expected. When I did the one indoors, I expected being outdoors with more light, I would have got a bigger image circle and less vignetting. But that's not the case, so in that respect I've failed. But I also said that sometimes when things go bad or go wrong, good things can come of it. So in this part of the video, I need you to use your imagination. Imagine that you're sat inside that pinhole camera, looking through the pinhole. The cap is removed and the light starts to pour in, the image starts to build, and eventually there is the image in front of you. And that's how the pinhole sees the scene. You're seeing it from inside that box as the pinhole sees it. Although you won't exactly see it as you see here, it would be upside down and reversed as we can see here. So from experimentation and trying to be creative, the pinhole camera has helped me create an image that's different, it's quite unique, and from that standpoint I don't think all this effort that I've put in has been a complete and utter waste of time. So right, I'm going to print the image now, 16 by 12, print it on a matte paper so the blacks will have a lovely velvety look to them. I'm going to give it a warm tone as I normally do in my prints, and as I say, I'm going to put it on eBay for auction to help support the channel. So let's take a look at the print now. Right guys, it's print sale time. And this is a close-up of the picture. This is the rabbit, obviously, and in the background we've got the tree and the grass going off in the distance. And this is a straight scan. I haven't done any sharpening to this. I was going to print it in my darkroom and do a darkroom print, but I decided not to do, because I felt that this picture and the way I'm portraying it, it should be on a dead matte paper. So what I've done is obviously I've scanned it, as you've seen, and I printed it on my inkjet printer on a quality matte paper, and it's got this lovely velvety sheen. So let's zoom out and you can see that. So this is a full-size print, and as I said before, it's got this beautiful velvety look to these blacks. It really does look nice. You might not see it in the video, but you'll just have to take my word for it. I've printed it with my signature platinum tone that looks really, really nice. It measures 16 inches by 12, so it's a good size print. I've left a border all around it to help when it comes to mount the picture before framing. I've signed it on the paper and on the print itself. I've entitled it Pinhole view. And this will be a unique print. There won't be any more like it in the world because it's going to be one of one. I'm not going to print any more. So if you win the auction, I will put one of one at the bottom of it. I don't know if you can notice around the actual image itself, there's like a secondary glow of light. You might call it an afterglow. I think that's where the lights come through the pinhole and it's exposed this area. It's tried to go further, but it's run out of a image circle, so it's left this lighter area going round and then it goes to black. So it really gives it some depth. So I'm going to leave a link to the eBay auction in the description. And if you want to help support the channel, all the proceeds go into me buying more paper and film, etc. Put a bid in and see if you can win this unique print. It would look absolutely stunning, I think, in a frame. So support the channel and put a bid in. Right. People ask me sometimes, why don't I just use traditional film cameras all the time with different lenses, etc. Why do I find old boxes in my darkroom and then stick a hole in the middle of it and put a piece of tin with a pinhole in the centre and create blurry images? Well, I think the answer to that is that I can do it, firstly. The other thing is that diversity brings experimentation, because if you experiment enough with things, you keep your interest in the hobby that you're doing. So because I create my own cameras and create my own pinholes and create prints from that, it gives me a great desire to carry on with film photography. And when I've got fed up of doing that, I will move away from pinhole and I'll move to cameras, old cameras, modern cameras, etc. It just keeps the whole hobby interesting and it enriches it. I work not solely on film and paper. I work on the computer. I scan things with a camera on the flatbed scanner, so I can work in a hybrid way as well. As I say, all these things keeps your interest into photography, but the main thing is I like to share it with other people. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up and a like. Better still, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell. Any questions, leave them below and I'll get back to you. As I always say, stay safe and I'll see you all in the next video. The magic of pinhole photography. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, go to the link in the description, put a bid down, help to support the channel. Thanks, bye.